What are the things that need to be considered around an ageing workforce?
Well, an ageing workforce is really part of a whole ageing economy, and the attitudes of people in general, let alone the employers or workers, is part of a cultural belief that we have around ageing and what it means for us individually or collectively. So the challenges really are to provide environments that allow people to continue to work as long as they choose, because our law enables that, which is lovely compared to other places in the world where they're fighting to get anti-discriminatory legislation. So we're in a plus position, and it's reflected too in our stats, of course, where we have the highest number of people over 65 in the workforce in the OECD. And that's really an interesting reflection, and it's an important issue that employers need to consider and look at the ways that they enable those older people to, or more mature people, to continue to have a flexible working and living life.
How good are employers at supporting people as they get older in the workforce?
Well, I've had connections with a major company here that we've accredited as an age-friendly business, and we've really only begun to talk at the customer service level about how a company engages with older people. So we're still to unpack a lot of other layers within that company, and we've agreed to do so. But really there's a lot more public debate to be held. And great that the Commission is doing that, because it's all the little environments that add up to a big one. So as I said, it's attitudinal, but on the physical level, it's having an ergonomic chair, it's being talked to and appreciated as part of the team, even though you might be part-time, that your wisdom is integrated in planning so that you actually are participating as a real person that's reached a level of maturity, as well as all of the things like arrangements for leave, because as you get older you have more deaths and more grief and more drama, as well as the good things in life, and so being able to go to your friend's funeral is incredibly important, or to celebrate a great-grandchild's birth. Any of those issues need to be accommodated, and they're all new. Longevity is a really new paradigm.
And why is it important as a society that we embrace this?
Well, for our economy's sake, and we all know that, as well as there's really two parts to that. And so there's the health and well-being of the mature person growing older, who wants to feel like a real person, who wants to feel good and stay engaged and stay active, and that cycle keeps people well. And on the other hand, so that's the social condition, and on the other side we have our economy, which we need to keep up through reducing dependency. So the social arm helps the economy by people being well, and even though they're living longer, they can live longer and live more. So we need to understand this concept that living longer doesn't mean living unwell or sick. It means living longer, living more, participating in the fullness of life.
And how do we balance this without making people feel that they have to work past 65?
Well, people contribute in lots of ways. You see, what do we call the workforce? And so the volunteer contribution, and the ads have just been on telly for school trustees. Well, what better people who really, really care about kids and all that knowledge, that they've got to share, and they've got more time. So if we look at time as an issue, then there are lots of ways to stay active and to contribute. We have all of our voluntary sector, which is so magnificent in supporting and caring our society. And of course, people want to have fun. People also want to have fun, and that also builds the economy. Like the cruise ships that come to our port here in Tauranga are a classic example of, wow, people might be a bit older, but they're out to have fun. And so that generates an economy as well.
I mean, if we think of a scorecard, how is New Zealand faring, would you say, in terms of addressing this question?
Well, I have a perspective that says the ageing and the longevity issues are a real plus, that there's something that we have to celebrate, but we don't have a lot of language for it here in New Zealand yet, not compared to the rest of the world. The reports and policy structures that I read about in my research around these issues, we're way behind. That we actually are not inclusive of older people in our society. We have really wonderful, healthy people in New Zealand, and it's time we grew up.
What about innovation from a work point of view?
From the workplace, we're really needing to acknowledge. People need to turn their head around. It's an attitude and a valuing. I mean, sure, older people are innovating. They're running small businesses and creating business. But from an employment point of view, we've got a long way to go to create those business environments.